This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing in the Healthy Lighting Company, Kyle Harris. We're going to talk about BrainLit. We're going to talk about changing environments, and we're going to talk about what you need to know on the education side about how you're getting lit or how you're getting unhealthy. So, Kyle, welcome to the show. You look great, man. I appreciate you dressing up for us.
You know, Peter, for you, I'd wear a tie anytime.
I appreciate that. So on our next podcast, I will wear an equivalent tie from my dad's collection. So Kyle, you've got a big scientific board, you've got a big advisory board, you've got a company that seems to be in the right place at the right time. So you want to give people a little primer on the company and how it was founded, and we'll talk about, the benefits here and, why there's not a tidal wave yet, but it's coming of BrainLit technology.
Appreciate it. So BrainLit is a Swedish founded company just outside Copenhagen in Lund. The founder was a guy named Tord Wengren, who was the original creator of Bluetooth. So he's a platform guy from his career, Samsung, Huawei, big companies. Got involved with light, trying to make it healthier. And the concept of BrainLit is to take LED and then modulate it and control it so you're bringing perfect sunlight spectrum indoors. And then when you do that, the people that are working in the space or working out in a space are healthier because they're getting the natural light that they would have gotten back in caveman days. And the way the sun wakes you up is it energizes you and keeps you focused. And then when it sets, it tells your body to go to sleep. And because humans are spending 90% of their time indoors, we're not getting the right light triggers. And that then is now moving to the fact that, the concept of greater risk of obesity, cancer, and dementia, because of the environments that we put ourselves in our work and even home lives. And then you take into account that LED as a platform has gotten more efficient, but more blue. So it's either further suppressing natural cellular biology. So BrainLit is a company that delivers health and wellness environments off of our platform, which is called BioCentric Light. And then we create, based on your use case, different recipes to customize how the light is delivered to the people in the space so that we can maximize the opportunity at the holistic level for your organization. And every single room you go into has got a light above your head. The question is whether that light is enhancing you or suppressing you. And we believe with BioCentric Light, every room that's got it will make you healthier.
Gotcha. So from a standpoint of patented technology, are these patented products? Is it you're basically the only one providing this in this format, as I can understand? Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a broad set of family of patents, which everything from personalized light to the control systems to addressable light. So we look at it as the opportunity for partnership with legacy, but at the same time, since we're kind of the front runner in how to do it, there's a lot of education that goes on as to why you want it. And then if you do want it, if you want healthy environments with, because you're putting light into it, then we're the platform that you use. But yeah, we have a very significant patent portfolio. And in all honesty, we've been in the business 11 years now. We actually had to wait for the technology to catch up to what we knew the science was possible to do. So now that's why we're still leading.
Yeah. So, as you get into these new markets and selling any new technology, you kind of, the evangelist, but, also educating people, and they're hoping it's a fad and it'll go away because they don't want to, learn about something new. How have you managed kind of like your own, progress to know, look, I'm making progress, but this might be like hand-to-hand combat to actually, get some of these leaders in the space, especially in the health club and studio space. Once you can kind of use certain players that are first movers, that kind of allows you to sell down to the rest of the market. So, if you want to name names, or you say like, look, these companies get it. It's part of their mission. They're actually investing in this, and it's actually not any higher of an investment, materially than what the legacy is. So maybe talk a little bit about that if you can.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it is hand to hand because the broader market is uneducated that light could even do this, right? So when you try to sell there's a lot of education. We still have to educate architects and designers that the capabilities exist. We have found in the US market specifically that sports has been a very interesting way to educate and get that performance certification, right? Sacramento Kings have built out their game day locker room. Philadelphia Union, baseball team in Minnesota are about to roll us out, right? So we're winning these big high performance organizations that are saying, we have a light, we can make our spaces better. Why not do BioCentric? In Europe, as an example, we just announced on Monday a partnership with Ecophone Saint-Gobain, which is a multi-billion-dollar global construction products company, to integrate our solution into their go-to-market strategy. They do acoustic ceilings. In ceilings is light. They're state-of-the-art acoustic for health. So why not blend that with state-of-the-art light for health? And now you have a better environment, which is the combined sound bright concept of this partnership. So everything from knocking down wins. We have an unfortunately unnamed retailer that's rolling out retail stores because our light is high visual quality, but then the 30 to 40 employees a week that are in those stores get the benefit of the best health and wellness environment, and all they do is come to work the same way they did before.
Sure.
And then when you start talking about the benefits of better sleep and recovery for your people, then you get fewer sick days. When you put better daytime light during the operation hours, you get better performance and focus. So you get a really holistic, recurring kind of self-perpetuating model of health, wellness, and productivity. And all you're doing is modifying the environment by something that is in every room, but it's not the right thing that should be in the room.
So every once in a while, it drives me crazy. Someone sends me a research or a white paper that says exercise is good for you. Like, no shit, dude. Like, stop doing the research on it because we know the answer already. When you talk about, healthy versus unhealthy lighting, are there quantifiable things that you're actually seeing with either the performance of these athletes? Is that something you could go down a trail and say, look, Sacramento Kings, whether it's win-loss or whether it's like data that is coming out of their, Apple Watch of their players or their, like you're talking about less sick days. Are those some of the things that, like in healthcare, they'll say, oh, I want to do this corporate wellness, like show me the ROI on that. But I really don't need to show an ROI here because it's basically the same price. It's just a better decision. Is that?
Well, and you hit on the key, right? An ROI typically has to be definitive when you're adding something to an environment. You've already got light in the building. If you're designing a new building, you know you're going to buy light. So why not buy the best light that contributes to the enterprise-wide health and wellness? So beyond the fact that it's a guaranteed purchase, whether you choose healthy or not is the next thing. When you start talking about how do you measure the results, right? We've done studies with companies that have installed ours, and they've given us access to their productivity reports and, and sick day reports, and we've seen increases, fairly demonstrable, like 7.5% increase in productivity and a 10% decrease in sick days. All right, that's one company. But we can also go to a very hyper-focused level of micro study. If you wear an Apple, Whoop, Garmin, anything that has sleep data, when you're in a biocentric environment, you'll see your sleep patterns get better. And so, a lot of teams that we work with want to measure or prove the science, so they will do a micro study. So yes, there's absolutely an opportunity to put people on sensors.
Right.
But then there's 2,800 white papers that have been written that say light is powerful. The right kind of light does these things, whether it's neonatal units to long-term care facilities, nursing homes.
True.
And each constituency needs a different kind of light. And because we're a platform, we can modify the delivery, depending on your use case, against all of the science. So we use aggregated data, hyper-localized data. You want to go read all the white papers? Let me send them to you. If you want to just use your own study, put some people under a lamp and let's get started.
Yeah. So I've got 3 follow-up questions related to that. We'll probably keep talking and then we'll have to cut ourselves off at some point. Is BrainLit something that is marketed inside of the locations that you power, where the consumer or the employee is like, oh, I feel better here. Like I feel like they're looking out for me? Because it seems like your brand could be almost like, I don't know, it's probably not the best example of like Intel Inside. Like, okay, I'm comfortable with this computer because I know that the foundation of it is made by that company. So how is that evolved with like building a brand, maybe even a consumer brand to an extent, even though that's a very expensive proposition. How do you feel that the awareness
Well,
is or
so
could be?
no, you came to a really amazing opportunity in terms of how do you define the ROI, right? If you look up into the ceiling and see a BrainLit installation, it's still light coming out of a light source.
Right.
But when you then go to the wall and look at the controller and it says this is a BioCentric environment enhancing your health and wellness by perfectly mimicking sunlight and circadian effectiveness, companies that we work with, the professional teams go and tell their players, we have installed for your benefit light that makes you recover better, sleep better, that can energize you before a game and decompress you post game. Retailers that use it go and tell their employees, we've invested in this store to make it the healthiest environment. So you get, retailers don't necessarily have lunch or food that's provided, but we've done the most we can do in this space to give you the greatest environment to work in. So absolutely, it's something you sell in. I think when you look at a gym or healthcare facility, it's absolutely a differentiator. If you're going to work out here and think about, jumping on a Peloton or a bike and go riding it for an hour, why not be riding the bike indoors for an hour with perfect outdoor sunlight?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that could be a
that.
great marketing, part of the marketing piece of, having your glass windows and your treadmills lined up there. And this area is also powered by BrainLit, 24/7.
Well, this is the other interesting thing is glass windows actually remove a lot of the health benefits because most windows don't actually point at the sun. The sun moves depending on the time of day you're on the bike, depending on where the sun is and where the window looks.
Yeah.
And commercial glass actually diffuses a lot of the benefits of that light. So that's the big design education, is that really you get almost zero health benefits 6 feet from a window because of the
that's
angle
news
and
to
the
me.
diffusion.
These are the kind of things that at age 52, why don't I know this yet?
Because this science doesn't exist.
Yeah.
In 2014 was the first time they realized that there was a cellular opportunity for circadian. 2017, blue light was able to trigger circadian responses. So it's not like there's 100 years. And how long has the light bulb been around, right? It's still pretty new tech.
Right.
So when you look at light pushing you indoors for productivity, now we're changing the environment indoors to make it as healthy as if you were outdoors, caveman hunting and foraging, while you sit at your desk.
We've got a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this, and they're also coming up with their own products and trying to figure out, like, is there a recurring component to their product or service? And is there something that you're relying on the company that you're working with? It sounds to me like there's technology innovation going on in your sensors and with the kind of light and modifications that over time. So do you actually have some kind of service agreement, or are you basically pushing down? Does the light switch change or the lighting change based on certain times from BrainLit, or is that all controlled at the location level?
So the system, because it's a platform, is remotely accessible.
Got it.
So you can leave it disconnected, and it will run whatever recipes you've purchased, or you can plug it into the system. And as the world evolves, and as light science gets smarter, our solution is built that we can upgrade the recipes and take advantage. Or if you change from, you own a strip mall and it was a bank 9 to 5 and now it's a bakery and you got people at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. that need light, well, we can give them sunlight at 3 a.m. So there's things that you can do with the platform that allows you to address the use case of this facility. So yes, because it's a platform, it's got forward opportunity, it's got a future-proof design to where it's evolving and learning, and we can upgrade it. And you can decide whether you want to be in on that upgrade path or not. But I think what you find is that with the long useful life of a light source, a luminaire, if an LED luminaire can last 7-8 years, there's a lot of evolution in light science that's going to change over 8 years. What are you going to do, rip out the whole building in 8 years and redo it? Or are you just going to let us keep evolving you based on your needs, right? And we get a lot of that with sports teams. What happens if they add a 3 o'clock game? How do we change our recipes? You tell us the new schedule and we update it. What if we start traveling to Europe? We can do jet lag mitigation. So there's a whole bunch of things that can be built into the solution based on how your business operates.
So let me ask you a question also from like an entrepreneurial, positioning of the company. You could go into any vertical you want. You could say, hey, I'm going to go into, Boeing, and I'm going to have all the lighting on the planes, perfectly calibrated. I can go into Home Depot. I can go to Amazon. I could go take all their, logistics facilities, basically, light that up. Or I could go to the health club industry and the studio market and try and educate them on this is what you should be doing for your members. So how do you wear the tie going into board meetings and say like, hey, we're in this sector. It's not going to grow that fast because I need a year. I might need 2 years to pressurize this market. So how do you think as a CEO and entrepreneur to say, okay, I got to prioritize these things. At the same time, you're not going to see like material results yet, but I know that this is going to be where the demand is. And it actually might be a differentiated factor either for employees or members because we know the technology. We've got the data. We've got 2,800 white papers, probably 3,800, in the next couple of years, and people are going to start talking about it, right? So how do you, as a CEO, kind of manage that, or tether through that relationship between revenue and like seed?
It's tough because every single room has light in it. So there's
Yeah,
not hey, this is a particular vertical that is the only user of corn harvesting machines, right? So the world is everything to us that makes it hard. What we found is that we could push the rock up the hill, or we could seed a broad market and see what took root and then find traction in that and then spin that traction. And sports in the US has been good for us because it gives us that performance credential. I would say conservatively, there's a 10-year difference in the understanding of light tech and health and wellness between Europe and the US to some extent, and how they look at light. And because we come out of the Nordics, there's a much better understanding of the power of light. So in the US, we had to use a different strategy than what we used in Europe. The partnership with Ecophone Saint-Gobain, they're in every vertical. And even for them, it's like, where do we want to go first? Because we do 80% of the acoustic tile business in Europe. And they're like, well, let's go find where we can go fast. Who wants to go fast? Who needs this? Who wants it? What market is begging for it? So I can't say that I did a bunch of research. I think we did some shotgun, saw what we hit, and then started digging deeper into those verticals. You get a lot of things where people are, well, schools would be great. It's great for kids. Absolutely. 12% performance improvement on cognitivity with kids in our environments. The problem is schools are bought at the school district level, which is hyper local and very fragmented.
right.
So as a small company, you can't go and hit every school district because you don't have the distribution channels.
Sure.
But the logic makes sense. So we're fighting against what people perceive as valuable. But we levered up on sports specifically because it's sexy. It creates performance value propositions. And then now we're starting to see that expansion of traction from that position.
I mean, the interesting thing going on in all the proliferation of these new sports leagues or significant investment in, say, different soccer leagues in the US, like they're all building, 150, $200 million facilities, indoor, outdoor, in B and C and D markets. I would assume that this should just get basically like quoted in as like next generation. I'm assuming that it's easier to get it into a new build than a renovation. They got to be renovating something else probably inside the facility, or how do you see that mix? Because I think once it gets built into like the next generation of like a sports facility, that becomes like the next generation of what you should do.
For us, it's still a timing issue. We're unknown. So someone who's building a brand new NWSL soccer stadium, if they don't know about us, they're not going to specify us. Mm-hmm. So we have to work with the architects, the Genslers, the Manicas of the world to teach their architects that we exist. We're getting very good traction in those spaces.
Okay.
But we still have to go to the teams. And if the teams don't know, then they push it to the architects. The architects have to be educated, and then we get specified in. We've done deals where the whole building's designed. They've actually purchased the lights already because they were worried about supply chain. And we walked in and said, do you know about us? They said, no. Holy crap, we want you. But we already own the lights. And then we said, well, that's fine. You guys are marketing yourself as the newest basketball arena, state of the art, best tech. And the minute you open, it's wrong because you're not using us. And they go, yes, and they carve us out a piece, but not what we would have gotten had we been
Got
there
it.
2 years ago, right? So construction takes 6 to 18 months. So it's timing. We haven't necessarily been in the market, but we're starting to show a lot of traction with deals we started pitching a year ago that are now coming to market, i.e. Philadelphia Union, Sacramento Kings, things like that. And we find that once we get in, the next thing they do, we then move into that very quickly. We've gone from 0 English Premier League teams to now 6 in the last 5 months because we finally found a guy that's an ex-Premier League player. He went back to his guys. He's the next Nike performance guy. He called all of his performance guys and said, have you heard about this? And they were like, no. Holy crap, bing, 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 right? So once you kind of get into the flow, it becomes both fear of missing out and fear of not being competitive anymore once you get into those niches. And we're starting to see that traction across NFL, NBA. I would say we have 25 to 50% of all the major leagues doing something with us, which we think will then both grow. And then the other thing, and they got to go back one step, and I think this is really important. We view it as an enterprise solution. We don't view it as just focusing on the performance of the player, right? The players get Normatec and Aura Rings and diet and trainers and all that stuff. We're talking to the 100 to 300 people in the building that support the players that are there 16, 18 hours during the season, sleeping under their desks. We're lifting the whole organization, all of your human capital assets, because they're all underneath the light. The players, you want that 1% to 2% incremental movement, but for the staff and the coaches, we've seen, 22% change in sleep data on an Aura Ring for coaches because their sleep hygiene and lifestyle is inside the building, way too many hours per day.
Yeah. Well, I'm intrigued with what you have here because it is a huge opportunity and the performance is it's evident. After this call, I'm going to send you a list of some of the architects that build a lot of these health clubs and sports complexes that we're very close with. And also the other thing that could be interesting is that a lot of the franchisors in their, they call them franchise disclosure documents, they actually, have preferred vendors or mandatory vendors. And some of these groups are kind of at the forefront of this is what our environment needs to be. And that basically is our brand. A lot of these studios are basically now effectively arenas because the instructors basically, are the performers. So we'll definitely follow up on that. In closing here, if you're a health club operator and you're making this decision to basically roll out 20 clubs over the next several years, what do you see from an enterprise solution? Is that an ongoing maintenance fee that you have set up? Is it, are we partners? You're not really a vendor. I tell people sometimes, like, if you're a client of Integrity Square, I'm your advisor. You're my client. If I'm your broker, then you're my customer. And like, it's the way you have to think about like who you are, because you're basically an ongoing service provider to optimize your team and your employee base. So is there a narrative there that is catching on with either health clubs or studios? That's the main people listening to this, or not yet.
So from a health club perspective, right? You're gonna buy light. So let's just assume that the decision's being made. You can now buy light with us that has potentially an unlimited useful life because we can work with you as your business changes, as you need different, as we learn about performance and light health and light science, we can just modulate your solution. So because it's future proof, am I your partner? Only if you want me to be. If you want to buy my platform, turn it on and never talk to me again, it will perform, it will run its useful life. And then I guess at some point it just shuts down like any other installation. If you want to subscribe and then work with us to create custom solutions that are modifying what we're learning, take advantage of them, create different rooms, different health and wellness environments, we can really work to tune the solution to your particular need. But from a 20 user standpoint, you're going to get far more useful life from our platform. You're going to get the ability to modify your presentation of value proposition. Why pick me versus them? if you're going to spend 45 minutes to 2 hours indoors, why not do it under perfect sunlight without UV risk of cancer, getting perfect circadian alignment so you leave energized and focused, and which means you're going to sleep better and recover better under those hours you're giving us to increase your, to work out. And I don't think there's a better pitch, whatever you're doing. If you're going to have to do it indoors, either at your own you volunteer to be indoors or someone makes you be indoors, why not make sure the environment is the most holistically healthy? And that's what we do.
Awesome. All right, well, officially welcome to the Halo sector. We're going to try and jumpstart these installations so we can have you in here and excited about it and show that they're doing the right thing. So after this, I'm going to give you a couple leads. Look forward to working with you. Congrats on what you guys have built. And I think it's a game changer. So everybody here, you've heard BrainLit and you've heard it here on Halo Talks. Thank you, Kyle.
Great. Thanks, Pete.
Awesome.